The Australian Financial Review.
Sometimes when you don't feel like it, it's also a really good sort of challenge again. I find it quite interesting when you're having a bad day, things have gone off track, you don't feel as well prepared, and sort of trying to embrace that to see, well, let's see what I've got. Yeah, that's fun. But when I started, absolutely not. Like everyone, I was nervous, I was worried.
Hi, I'm Sally Patton, editor of Boss from the Australian Financial Review, and welcome to 15 Minutes with the Boss, a podcast about success and failure and everything in between. And along the way, we're hoping to get some great advice from our leaders. My guest today is Matt Comyn, the Chief Executive of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Hi, Matt. How's your day been so far?
Very good. Great to be with you.
Matt, as I said, you're the CEO of Commonwealth Bank, Australia's biggest bank, with a global staff of some 50,000. Last year, you recorded a $9.8 billion cash profit, of which you returned some $8 billion to shareholders through dividends. You bank more than 1 in 3 Australians, and my interesting fact is that 46% of younger adults are your customers. Does it make you proud to hear those numbers?
It does. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've been at CBA for more than 2 decades. It's been a wonderful life experience. There's been always ups and downs in any career and job, but I've also worked with some amazing people over that time, and I'm proud of what the Commonwealth Bank does and the opportunity to lead it.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get into it. We've only got 15 minutes. The clock starts now. My first question is, what does your morning routine look like? What time do you get up? What happens?
So no fixed routine. I don't have an alarm clock, but I'll generally wake up around 6 early. This morning it was earlier. I basically will get up, exercise, go to work.
And what does the exercise comprise of?
Varies. This morning, gym, sometimes run. Not so much cycling anymore, but probably exercise most days. But if I've got something on, I will skip it. But I generally don't have a fixed schedule. I'm always in by a certain time, but when I wake up, I get up, and I don't seem to really ever sleep in.
So what time do you get to the office by?
Somewhere around 7:30-ish.
Okay. And are you a breakfast person?
I have a fairly regular routine. I have a protein shake, fruit, and a green juice.
And are you a snacker? Does that last you till lunchtime?
Most days. Occasionally I'll have a snack, but not often.
Okay. All right. My next question is, tell me about a pivotal moment in your career that changed the trajectory of what you were doing, or somehow changed even what you wanted to be later on.
One of them would definitely be post-GFC, so it would have been 2009, and CBA was involved in, a financial advice group in North Queensland had failed, and a number of customers who had products with the Commonwealth Bank. So it was 3,500 people who basically lost their life savings. And I volunteered to lead the remediation of that. I went and met with customers directly. I think you learn the importance of doing the difficult things yourself. You see the impact of when things go bad and leverage, and those customers were highly levered and invested, obviously, in a speculative, at the time, strategy which had worked spectacularly badly in the GFC. So I did that for most of 2009, and it was a really unique experience that I learned a lot from. Very, very challenging. I mean, I dealt for the first time with the then CEO, Ralph, the board. I worked with a number of legal firms because the bank was being sued. I appeared in Parliament for the first time.
So what were you doing immediately before that role? And did you put your hand up for the role, or did someone tap you on the shoulder?
I was running ComSec, and I put my hand up for the role. A number of people asked, why would you do that?
I'm sure they did.
I mean, looking back, it's clear that was a really important period. But at the time of putting my hand up, it was less obvious. But obviously, I'm really glad I did. And I think it's really important about embracing opportunity and trying to do difficult things. I think when lots of leaders differentiate themselves over time, it's generally those who move towards the hard issues. They don't leave it to others.
And was there a point where you thought you had bitten off maybe more than you could chew? Because I guess that's also part of the learning, right?
Absolutely. I think when you do something for the first time, it can feel daunting. I think with the right mindset, you can gain both a lot of experience and confidence, and a lot of things become easier in life and also from a career perspective after you've done them before. And really doing things that are challenging is so rewarding, because a lot of other things that maybe seemed hard for you before then actually seem pretty easy. And a lot of things just get easier with time and experience.
Yeah, it's good to know. My next question is, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
I mean, really embrace the opportunities that you're given. And that for me would have been a few years before that. I was at a particular point when I was being asked to go and lead a piece of work, a big technology project at CBA. And I didn't necessarily want to do it. But the person that I was working for gave me that piece of advice. And ultimately, part of that was, he asked me at the time, do you trust me? And I said, I absolutely do. And I did. And you might not think it is. It's going to be really good and important for you to do it. And it taught me a lot. Life comes with sort of unexpected opportunities and challenges. And I think if you're the sort of person that's really looking for a way to, embrace an opportunity, there's so many different ways that you can learn. You tend to be rewarded with other opportunities as well. And I've found that there are so many ways to learn in life and in business and from other people as well. And so I think the sort of embracing opportunities with curiosity and trying to just continue to improve every day makes a huge difference. Both that's a mindset as well as, a determination to do both of those things.
So when you're looking at those new opportunities and you're thinking, maybe I don't want to do that because it's a bit scary, how do you stop second guessing yourself and just forcing yourself to say yes?
It's important to be able to do that, and I do. I think it's important to have constructive self-reflection and looking for the things that you can improve every day, but I don't ruminate. I don't second guess. And I see this sometimes, people will ask about public speaking. I'm never the sort of person that's worried about what if I forget this, or what if I just never allow my mind to go down those sort of paths. And some of that just comes from repetition. And so I think there's a point you've always just got to be prepared to commit and not look back. Like looking backwards is, a regret. Thinking about all the things you could have or would have or should have, forget it. Just think about how you can take that forward. And I think that's a really important life skill.
That is fantastic advice. No regrets, don't look back, look forward.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, on that note, that is the end of our first section. Don't go away. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to open our embarrassingly lo-fi, low-tech chatterbox.
Very good.
Welcome back to 15 Minutes with the Boss. I'm here with Matt Comyn, the Chief Executive of the Commonwealth Bank. Now, Matt, this is our section called the Chatterbox, as threatened. Now, Matt, in front of you is our very high-tech random question generator, aka cardboard box, which has about 20 questions in it today. When you're ready, have a forage, pick out your first question, and we'll get going. I get to read it. Thanks very much.
Sorry. Yeah.
Do you have a coping mechanism for high-stress situations?
One, I think being able to perform as well as possible, which also includes dealing with high stress. There's a lot of very conscious about the sort of state, good sleep, exercise. I think trying to always put yourself in the right position. Secondly, I think dealing with stress gets easier with time. Thirdly, as I've seen and learned, often things are not as bad as they first seem. Often the worry can be debilitating. So I think it's a sense of proportionality and being able to just work calmly through individual problems. And obviously there's the most important thing about dealing with difficult issues or stress, just having a great team. It's a big part of my job is getting the right people in the right roles, working to their potential, working well together. Once you've got that, things are a lot less stressful.
So in terms of how much you sleep and how much you exercise and your recovery time and even what you put in your body, do you measure those things or
I do.
Do you have a device to measure those?
I have a couple of devices that measure those. Yes, I do like metrics, but if I've had a bad sleep, I won't necessarily watch too close. I don't So I'm sort of like trying to look at the averages and how I'm going over time. I've sort of stepped back from looking at as closely every single day as I would have a few years ago, because I think it could be a little bit self-reinforcing, whereas I think most things in life, if you're doing the right things month in, month out, the benefits really, really compound.
Sleep is a really big thing at the moment. Do you have a sleep goal? Do you know how many hours you like to get?
I do. I try to get 7. Yeah, I measure that in a couple of ways. I'll get less certain days of the week, and it's easier to sleep on a weekend night. I tend to probably not sleep as well on a Sunday night, but I'm just sort of used to the pattern. And also, I just try to manage my load physically, mentally. If I've got something that's really, really hectic that's coming up, I'll try to ease back to give myself a bit of a rest beforehand, and likewise. So I try to plan pretty carefully.
And when it comes to exercising, are you real type A? Do you push yourself a lot?
I like to push myself. I mean, as I've gotten older, I'll train for maybe an hour. I won't do 4 hours. I'd do a 10K run. I'd never do a marathon now. It's diminishing returns. I don't think it's super healthy. It's too fatiguing. So I just try to get
You do have a day job.
I do. Alongside my family, I'm optimizing for my work. And so I'm trying to do everything I can to be healthy and in the best condition possible so I can perform as best I can.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. Okay, have another fish in the chatter box. Let's see what turns up.
Okay.
Do you like public speaking, and have you always liked it?
I doubt many people have. I do now. I mean, realistically, I communicate for a living. Sometimes I feel like I answer questions for a living. I mean, a big part of when you're leading people is being able to communicate clearly, hopefully inspire, but also try and reach the audience. Most people can't remember what you say over, obviously that dissipates relatively quickly, but many people can remember what it felt like when you were talking. And I think, I've just done a lot of it. And so the repetitions make it easier. It means that you enjoy it more. I mean, I wouldn't like to be an MC at a wedding, but I like speaking.
I would have thought that's a lot easier than what you do.
No, I like structure. I don't mind doing a speech. I think intent is so important. What do I want to get out of this? I don't sort of stumble into things.
You've thought about it beforehand.
I'm trying to think about it, exactly. And then I just try to push everything else out of my mind right before I go on stage. I've got like routine, and then I just start, and I don't second guess. I don't react if an alarm goes off or something. Sometimes when you don't feel like it, it's also a really good sort of challenge again. I find it quite interesting when you're having a bad day, things have gone off track, you don't feel as well prepared, and sort of trying to, again, embrace that to see, well, let's see
how much I can do.
Let's see what I've got. Yeah, that's fun. But when I started, absolutely not. Like everyone, I was nervous, I was worried, but I don't know how many times I've spoken in public, but a lot. So it's something that I've certainly grown to enjoy.
I have seen you a lot in the public on stages, and I think you're terrific. What's your routine beforehand? Do you have a breathing exercise, or do you stand up with your shoulders back? Or some people have, all sorts of different routines.
I just want a little bit of quiet before I go on stage. I would like a minute or two, and I will just consciously try to push everything. I won't be trying to remember, here's the 13 different points I need to make in the next 8 minutes. I'll just try and breathe and relax and then start. I'm a big believer in routines. I think in professional sport and things as well. If you talk to someone who, let's say, is a opening bats person, one of the ways that they teach people to not get nervous at the opening ball of the first test is, to have a routine. So I have different routines. If on different days that are important, I'll do a certain set of things. And I think that just gives you a sense of comfort and consistency.
Oh, I love that. Okay, next question. Should we have another go?
Sure.
Do you have a favourite productivity hack to help you get more out of your day?
Probably two related. One, I generally think email is certainly as a sending device, a grotesque waste of time. I'd hope I send probably the fewest number of emails as any CEO. I'd do less than 5 per day.
Wow.
I think emails are great in terms of communication to read and send. They're terrible for understanding context, for problem solving. So I spend, as I said, as little time as
Well, so what
possible.
happens to all the emails that you get in that are sort of probably asking for a response? Do you ignore them? Can you pass them off to somebody else?
Well, for a lot of people who work closely with me, no. If you want to talk to me, talk to me.
Come and talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not going to go back and forth on email. And then the second thing, I'm a big believer in some of the work that Cal Newport's done, which is all about sort of deep work. So a lot of my job, obviously, I'm in and out of different things, meetings. But also, if I really want to work on something that's important, I'll have a big block of time where I can work on something that is important. And it's sort of unstructured time, but I use it in a certain way. And as I said, I try to avoid things that I think are a waste of time. And I'd put email substantially at the top of that list.
Yeah, that's really interesting and something that we should really probably all take on board. Now, thank you. On that note, that concludes our Chatterbox section. We will move on to our last question, which is, if we were the holiday gods and we granted you 12 months holiday, you could come back to the same job, you were unencumbered, you could do anything you liked, what would you do?
I suspect I will get bored well inside 12 months. So I'd have to find something stimulating to do at the same time. And, I guess like everyone, I'd like to spend some time with family. I try to do the best I can with my kids, but I'd probably like to substantively spend that time without a phone. For the former CEOs that I've seen, I think that's the thing that they enjoy most, is that the levity that comes from just not having to
be on your phone all the time, be contactable all the time.
Exactly, and you just never know. And that's just part of what I really enjoy in the role, but you just never know. I mean, something could happen very, very quickly, and that's always in the back of your mind. So at some point, not having to worry about that, and whether that's sort of walking on a beach or walking up a mountain, not having to worry about what am I missing would be, I think, a good feeling.
So to prevent you from getting bored, would you learn a new skill?
I'm terrible at art and music, so I think I could rule a number of different things out. I'd love to be able to learn a language.
Italian or French or something like that?
Spanish, I would like to be able to speak more of. My father was Spanish, and he died when I was 6. And I have a half-brother who lives in Spain, and his Spanish is obviously a hell of a lot better than mine. So I feel like I could have done a better job of learning that language.
And that, Matt, means that our time is up. It's been a real pleasure talking to you about the way that you have gone and deliberately done the difficult things, because that is what is going to develop you as a leader. I really like the way that you don't ruminate on past mistakes. You get up and get on with things. And I think you're amazing the way you only send 5 emails a day. I also think the way that you optimize yourself, your family and your work is a really good lesson. You know exactly what your priorities are. And I will finish by saying, best of luck in your year off connecting with your Spanish heritage. So, Matt, thank you so much once again for coming in and allowing us to spend 15 minutes with the boss.
Likewise. Thanks very much.
And thank you to everyone for listening. If you like the podcast and would like to hear more, please consider sharing the podcast or writing a review, as it helps us to reach more people. And follow us wherever you get your podcasts. At the Financial Review, we investigate the big stories about markets, business and power. For more, go to afr.com, and you can subscribe to the Financial Review, the daily habit of successful people, at afr.com/subscribe. This podcast was hosted by me, Sally Patton, and produced and edited by Lap Fan. Video and audio assistance, and our music theme is by Alex Gow, and our executive producer is Fiona Buffini.
The Australian Financial Review.